happen. I would leave the salon, I would go straight across the road to my dad's office, get the toilet key, go into the bathroom and redo my hair. They're training their hairdressers to get their colour right.
Most people are always somewhat dissatisfied with their hair service. Look them in the mirror or sit in front of them and look them face to face. Look at them. I forgot the at. And ask this question.
What do you love about your hair right now? And what about what you don't love about your hair right now? Have you ever asked a client this question before you start their appointment? I know it might seem like a basic question, but too many of us are missing these basic questions. We're too busy asking, so what are we doing today? And jumping into what we think would look best for them or what we're comfortable doing. But 9 out of 10 clients are leaving the salon unhappy because they weren't asked the right questions. You're doing what you want to do, or you're too nervous to do what they're actually asking for. And yes, they may rebook, but do we really want our clients leaving secretly unhappy? What happens when they suddenly have had enough and realize that they can't train you and move on to the next stylist who asks the right questions? So I'm really excited to have Richard from the Hair app on the podcast today to talk about why your client is secretly unhappy. But really quickly, before we start, I wanted to let you know that this episode is brought to you by the Motivating Managers program. The Motivating Managers program gives salon owners the strategies and tools to have a manager that can lead daily operations so that you can truly step into your role of the salon CEO. You'll build trust with your manager to maybe even go on a 6 weeks holiday. Like, that's the ultimate goal. How good would that be? All right, let's jump straight into the episode. Here's Richard with Your Client is Secretly Unhappy. Richard, thank you so much for joining me on the Salon Owners Collective podcast. Pleased to have you back.
Thanks for having me. It's awesome to be back. Love what you're doing.
Well, thank you. Richard, for those that don't know who you are, can you give us a little bit of who is Richard? Where are you in the world? What do you do? How did you get to be doing it?
No problem. Okay, so very, very briefly at a top level, because it's been a long career, I am currently the CEO and co-founder of the Hair app, which is a piece of technology specifically designed for hairdressers. It's actually a new category of technology or software that sort of never existed in the world before. Much need for it. I'm a hairdresser by trade. I started hairdressing with my hairdressing apprenticeship straight out of high school as a young teenager, little naughty boy. Got into it because I wanted to be a biochemist and an artist, and I had an epiphany moment having my hair cut and colored that chemistry, biology, and art were all encapsulated in hair. And I was like, Mum, I'm doing hair. And Mum was like, no, you're going to university. I was like, no, I'm going to do hair. And I won the fight. So I did my apprenticeship, worked across a range of salons, starting out in small suburban salons, working in and managing award-winning salons, becoming creative director of large groups, becoming a brand ambassador, ultimately an editorial and session stylist for the last 25 years. And that career has taken me all over the world to shoot all sorts of amazing campaigns and work on incredible shows for brands like Prada, Versace, Calvin Klein, Vogue, Harper's Bazaar, you name it. I've done it in the hairdressing industry. And as I mentioned at the top, now to be honest with you, I accidentally started a tech company with a few other people. It wasn't never my intention, but the problem was there. We had an idea and here we are.
Amazing. I love that you accidentally fell into it. Some of the best things that we do in our lives are the things that we didn't necessarily think we were going into, and they're the best things that ever happened to us.
Agree, 100%.
So one of the reasons I brought you back onto the podcast is, and we've hung out a few times together, Richard, one of the reasons I wanted to bring you back this time is because I remember before being a hairdresser, like you, having that epiphany moment in the salon going, I want to be a hairdresser. Actually, for me, it was outside of being in the salon. And I used to watch intently. I would be in the chair as a teenager, watching intently what she did, how she lifted my hair up and cut it. And I was really intrigued with that, how she knew how to do that. And so two things would happen. I would leave the salon. I would go straight across the road to my dad's office, get the toilet key, go into the bathroom and redo my hair. So I want to come back to that in just a moment. But you reminded me of then I would go home and I would get the scissors and I would try and do my family's hair by kind of copying what she did. I was really intrigued. I was like, I can do this. What happens if I do that? And strangely enough, my mum and my sister and the dog, all right, I cut the dog, let me experiment for a couple of years. So I kind of been too bad at it. In any case, back to the toilet. After the salon experience, I would go back in there, I would re-wet my hair and kind of pat it down. She'd blow-waved it all boofy and I was not into the boof. And I also know that sometimes I walk out of the salon, I go home and I get my hairdressing scissors and I just fix up a few bits. And I thought, this is really interesting. Sound familiar to you, Richard?
Very, very familiar. And you'll be happy to know that you're not alone, because 9 out of 10 people have similar stories about what they do with their hair after they leave the salon. Similar and worse.
Okay, I want to just touch on that specifically because you mentioned this to me before we pushed record today. 9 out of 10 people walk out of the salon not happy with their experience. And so I just want to sort of set the scene here because I really want Richard to bring this home for us. We need to listen. They're either happy that we cut too much off or we didn't cut enough off. They're not happy because the color is not quite right. And hear this, guys, our clients are training us. They're training their hairdressers to get their color right. The only reason they come back is that they think if they keep working with you, eventually they will get it right. And then the third reason, like my experience, they leave because the finish is not right. You curl it, you boof it, you flatten it, and you do something wrong and they go home and they fix it. So, listen up. Richard, what is the industry? What are we getting wrong when it comes to giving our clients what they want?
Look, let's set a little bit of context around this, because I think, the onus is partly on the clients and the way that they communicate with us as an industry, because what we're getting as hairdressers behind the chair is this kind of false sense of feedback, right? Because we're not hearing our customers tell us this. In developing any of our features and products, we do a lot of consumer research. We talk to so many consumers, and it's not me talking to them as a hairdresser. It's my team and our developers who are not hair people talking to them about their hair experience. And so what we've learned is that there's this kind of false feedback loop that clients and hairstylists fall into, because in the chair, in the service, there's so much human connection. There's so much respect and kind of deep relationship that's built. It's a really intimate relationship that we have that's unlike any other relationship that we have in society that we kind of transact with, right? And so our clients have this kind of, they don't want to offend us, they don't want to upset us, and we've just spent a lot of time with them. They get up out of the chair, they give us a hug sometimes, they smile, they say thank you, they tell us they love it, they pay, they buy stuff from us, they even rebook sometimes, and then they go outside and do things like what you used to do as a young person and restyle their hair. And they tell us these things that, most people are always somewhat dissatisfied with their hair service. They're dissatisfied with the outcome of either the color, the cut, or the styling. And if we start with the styling first, I want to share a quote from Mark Hayes, who was the creative director of Sassoon for many years. And I heard Mark Hayes on a podcast about 5 or 6 years ago say, when somebody asks me what would suit them, what style would suit them, I want to know who they are as a person more than what they look like, because who they are will determine the style that they should wear more than what they look like. There's little details of kind of balance, etc., that's based on the technical thing of the face shape and the hair and so on. But mostly when it comes to style, it's about the personality, the personal style. Does their personal style whisper, talk, or shout? Are they more glamorous or more cool and street? Simple personal style things. So there's a big piece there that we're probably missing, that we're not connecting with our clients on because we're focused on the technical. And to your point, the clients say that they're training us. I've heard this so many times, and what it means, or what I've come to kind of unpack the meaning of that, is that if I like this person and I'm somewhat satisfied with the service, I'm going to keep going back in the hope that we can make small adjustments along the way, and eventually I'm going to be happy with the color. It'll be what I hoped for. When it comes to the cut, and look, I mean, I'm going to go back to the color again because I've got a personal experience of this. I have a teenage daughter who can rock a look. She's the type of person who can go from one look to another look very strongly. She's the sort of person that can wear a red lip. She can change the color of her hair. She can put on, a character, if you like. The first time she wanted to get her hair colored, she wanted to go platinum blonde. She's natural level 7, so she's kind of a blondie, dark blonde, dirty blonde naturally. And she wanted to go platinum full head bleach. Took her to a salon, very expensive, very successful salon, color experts, friends of mine, showed them a picture of a platinum blonde, said to them, please do a full head bleach on Iris. I want her to be, she wants to be platinum blonde, do a full head bleach. I come back later and she's got some lovely Eastern Suburbs beige highlights. $700 and 4 hours later. And I'm like, hang on a second. I said to my daughter, how is it? She goes, oh, it's really pretty. And I said, yeah, but is it what you wanted? She goes, well, no, but it's really pretty. And therein is an example of what happens over and over and over again for consumers, right? Hairdressers, sometimes we're too scared to go far enough. And sometimes we're too bold and go too far. So we have to kind of work out how to understand who the person is and what they want, what their outcomes are, so that we can serve them effectively. When it comes to styling, this is a particular bugbear for me. The cut part we can kind of understand. What's an inch? I don't know. Is that an inch? How much do we need to cut off? What's really essential if we want to keep the health of the hair? How do we articulate and communicate that to our clients? How do we manage those expectations? That's a tricky one with the cut length stuff. Color's easy because it's either the color they want or it's not. And then finishing, again, that comes down to the personal style. And your experience is really common, right? We hear this a lot from consumers who say, I don't know why they do this, but they get the straightener out and curl my hair with it. And I just don't. Nobody likes that look. And so they go out to the car and they try and brush it out, And thankfully, we're seeing kind of a shift in trends. We're starting to see more hairdressers do more, softer, more consumer-friendly finishing, but there's still a big chunk of the industry that's stuck in that look. And I guess if I can wrap that all up in a neat little bow, the fact is that we're not meeting clients' expectations because we're stuck in a false feedback loop, and we're taking that visceral feedback from out of the chair, the hug, the payment, the thank you, the rebook, as validation that what we've done is what they wanted. And we don't have a method or a way or a format for them to actually give us the real feedback. So what we need to do is we need to listen more to, I don't know who to listen to. We need to listen more to our clients for a start. But we also need to be a little bit more self-aware and focus on them, focus on the consumer, focus on their needs, instead of, as an industry, looking at other hairdressers so much and trying to copy and replicate them. Then we get in this kind of closed loop of hairiness.
Hey, Salon CEO, just jumping in here to say thanks again for joining me on the podcast. I hope you're enjoying this episode so far. Just one quick question. Do you ever find yourself talking to your team or working on the daily, I call it the shit that comes up, and thinking, wait a minute, why isn't my manager doing this? Or my manager never does it right. So I have some strategies for you. The Motivating Managers program will help you lead your manager to success so that they can manage your team, manage daily operations, sort out the clients, even when you're not there. Because you can't become $1 million business or even break through the 500K roadblock if you're stuck in daily operations. Now, did I mention we also help support your manager when you're not there? I'm taking a 6-week holiday around Europe, knowing that your manager has everything under control. Let's hop on a Salon Mastery call. We'll discuss your business, your team, your manager, and make a plan to help you reach the $1 million mark. All you need to do is find the button Apply Now. It's in the show notes of this very episode, and we'll book a time. We'll have a quick strategy call. All right, that's enough from me. Let's get back to the episode. Yeah, all right. I love that. I love that you have the visibility from both sides. And I think that's what we lack once we're in the salon, we're behind the chair, we don't get that real feedback. And so you've had this ability to get a different perspective, probably a more true perspective. So I'm really keen for you to share with us now, like, what are some things that we can do to change this? What is going to make us stand out from the rest? What are the things we're doing wrong? But actually, most importantly, what can we do to manage those expectations? I'm assuming it's going to happen in the consultation. This is like where everything happens. No more, so what are we doing today? Can you give us 1 or 2 tips? So when our listeners hop off this podcast, that they can go back to the salon and take action. Like, what is the one thing, if there was nothing else, that they need to go back and change?
Okay, I'm going to give you 2 things, but the one thing, the biggest and most important thing that people can do, and it's the easiest thing to implement, is in consultation with your client, forget about what you did last time. Forget about what they've booked in for, because if you look in your appointment book and they're booked in for half a head of foils and a, trim or cut and blow wave or whatever you name that service, forget about what they've booked in for. Forget about what you did last time. Look them in the mirror or sit in front of them and look them face to face. Look at them. I forgot the at. And ask this question. When you sit here right now and you look at yourself in the mirror, what do you love about your hair right now? When they've told you what they love, listen intently for what they like and make sure you lock it into your brain. Okay, they like this. They like the curl. They like the length of this bit. They like the color of this part. Then ask them, what are some things that you struggle with? Looking at your hair right now, what would you want to change? Because then what you're doing is you're not assuming, you're not listening from a point of view of, I already know what I'm going to do. You're not starting to formulate a plan until you've heard from them what they like and they don't like. Don't even think about formulas or plans or processes or steps or techniques or methods or anything until you truly, truly hear them, hear what they love and hear what they struggle with. That's the most important thing in any consultation.
Yeah, okay, I love that. It's really listening without existing intent. This is truly listening. Yes. Okay. My next question then, Richard, is as a business owner, as a salon owner, how do I help my team now formulate what to do with that information? Because that, my mind goes, that's the fear in the stylist, especially young ones. Shit, I've got all this information. What the heck do I do now?
Yep.
Talk to me about that.
Yeah. Look, that's a big piece of work to unpack because there's 2 parts to that. On the one hand, there's the leadership and team management. As a salon owner, you're no longer a hairdresser per se. You're a team leader, a business owner, and a manager. And the most important skill that you can have in that role is your leadership capability, your leadership skills, your ability to guide your team to become their absolute best. right? Um, if you're working with a coach, they can help you with those leadership skills. Obviously, that there's the business kind of mechanics, the admin and structure of your business. That's one part of it. But your team is everything, right? So leadership skills are essential, and leading them to success is a mission, right? It's a mission that you're on for however long it is. Now, how do you? It's a life mission, 100%. I agree. And leadership is really rewarding. It's really powerful, and it's a skill that can be learned, right? It is a set of skills that can be learned and implemented. So I highly encourage you to develop your leadership skills to get the most out of your team so that they can take the information that they get from their clients and translate it into outcomes that they're satisfied with, so that you have a legion of raging fans that are out there in the world telling everybody that they must come to your salon because you are the best, because you listen the best and you execute the best and you give them exactly what they want. That all comes down to leadership. Now, if we want to bring that down a notch and look at um, the practical application of what are some things you can do to ensure that your clients are getting the outcomes they want, and that your staff can take what their clients are saying to them and translate it into the outcomes. Um, like, look, training is the standard thing, right? When you're in your training sessions and you're teaching techniques, or you have someone come into the salon to teach techniques, methods, and approaches, put some context around it, right? In a scenario, when somebody asks for this or says they have this problem, this is a solution, right? So context around your techniques and methods, because so often we go and learn trends, techniques, and methods, and we don't learn it with context. Who is the client that I want to apply this for? The second tangible or practical thing that they can do is to learn about, okay, something we learn as apprentices when we study the eras in hair, right? We study hair from the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, and beyond, right? So there are eras in hair that have trends, and there are certain um, qualities to the hair of those eras. During those eras, each era had some beauty icons, right? So we currently have a bunch of beauty icons that we recognize as, on the red carpet, on social media, on film and television, on the runway, that we have as current beauty icons. Each era had its beauty icons. Each of those icons fell into what I like to call an archetype or a style tribe. So I know I'm going down a little bit of a rabbit hole here, but we did some work with a university in the US identifying 130 different style tribes across society. And we've curated them into 16 groups that share similar hair aesthetics. So understanding, to go back to the point that Mark Hayes made, understanding who someone is before you tell them what would suit them or help them discover what can suit them is critical. So understanding somebody's personal style and aesthetic. My friend Mana Dave says this great thing, right, about color, and I love it. It's such a powerful way of thinking about personal style. Let's say we're going to do a copper. Do we want that copper to whisper, talk, or shout? So in other words, are you more subtle or more vibrant in your personal style? When you think about like personal style, and we think about all of those style tribes, for example, are you more on the kind of boho chic side, or are you more glam? Are you a little bit more uptown, or are you more Scandinavian in your style? Are you simple? Do you prefer practicality? There's all of these little kind of subtle personality type, personal style characteristics, which will help the hairdresser translate what that person is saying about what they love and what they don't love into an outcome that they can get, right? So we as hairdressers are personal style consultants, and we have to have an arsenal of skills that allow us to interpret different personal styles or different techniques and methods in slightly different ways so that they appeal to the different personal styles. And that is where we start to meet and exceed clients' expectations.
Yeah, I love that as a framework because it means that even the youngest of stylists has something to follow and feel confident within. And so I think that fills a really huge gap because I know asking the questions, as you've eloquently shared, that's challenge enough to get our team to ask something, the same thing consistently every time and not just what are we doing today. But the gap then becomes, well, shit, now what do I do? And so I love that there are 16 personalities to work through. I'm going to just boldly ask, what does this look like in the Hair app? How can consumers and salons use it so we can close the gap in expectations and communication, and so we can give our clients a better experience? Just briefly tell us from the consumer side and from the salon side, how do the two hang out with each other so we've got a bit of an understanding and you can pique enough interest, Richard, that people are going to hop off this podcast and go and have a look at the Hero.
Okay, that's awesome.
I'm asking you
there's kind of
a big question for a small
yeah.
answer. I'm totally aware of this,
You-
so the
you-
challenge is
you
yours.
are. Okay, let me share something with you. I'm just gonna kind of tell a little story for like about 60 seconds and see if that answers most of your questions. So if you're a hair pro that struggles with the increasing cost of doing business and you feel overwhelmed with social media and everything else you have to do in your business, let me ask you a question. What if you could simply shout someone a coffee once a week, and in return for that, they made sure to ask every client the right questions about their hair, such as their hair habits, their hair history, their lifestyle. They get their inspo pics together for you, and maybe they even recommended hair care for them. And then they summarized all that info for you to see before your client's appointment. What would that do for your stress levels? What would that do for your bank balance, your work-life balance? How much time do you reckon you would save with clients, especially the indecisive ones and the new ones that you're yet to get to know properly? Do you think you'd be able to make a little dent in that financial stress if you sold a bit more retail and a few extra treatments each week because they were already recommended for you? And more importantly, how do you think your clients would feel getting looked after like that? So let me ask you again. Would you buy someone a coffee once a week if they did all of that for you? Now, I'm not sure where you're going to find someone to work for you that cheap unless it's your mum, but the Hair app actually does all of that and more for the same cost. So for less than a coffee a week, it takes literally a minute to set and forget in your business. It's an automation. It requires no extra effort on the stylist part because it's the clients that do the prep ahead of time. They receive a link from the salon and they answer all of those questions in a structured format, in a gamified, easy to access. It's really great for the clients. They love it. And then the system just sends you a message with a link to view their profile when it's ready. So then you get to go into every client consultation fully prepared before you even start asking any questions. And then you get to focus on what you do best, which is the human touch, the creativity, giving them exactly what they want, and leaving all the questions and upsells to the automations.
All right, amazing. That was so concise, very clear. I can know exactly what to expect. I think now that you've heard this, you need to go and stalk the Hair app and find out, find those details out exactly. All right. Hey, Richard, what is one exciting thing that's happening for the Hair app at the moment? I know you've been going for quite a few years now, but what's the one thing you're most excited about at the moment?
Look, there's lots and lots of exciting things for us at the Hair app because we're creating something completely new, a product, a software category that never existed before. And so, we've got lots of really exciting balls in the air juggling at the moment. I think the most exciting thing for me is the results that we're seeing for salons, particularly those where they've participated in a trial and we've been able to measure their outcomes. So I don't know, as a salon coach that what you don't measure, you don't know, right? You've got to measure the results and then you know. We have seen in our trials in the US an uplift in retail sales and an uplift of basin treatments. Sales went up on average, retail sales went up on average 70%, 70. Basin treatments went up on average 141%. So I know that often when I say those stats to hairdressers, I see them kind of glaze over and go, okay, that sounds like math and my brain's going to switch off, right? Let me tell you what that means in raw numbers, because I'll share this resource later at the end of the podcast. We've got a little a calculator on our website that helps people work out how much extra profit they could make from retail product sales. Because most hairdressers don't realize, right? Like, let's say you've got a $200 service and a $20 bottle of product. Based on industry averages at the moment, the $200 service is going to net you $6 at the end of all your costs and expenses, if you're lucky, if you're making a profit. The $20 bottle of shampoo is going to net you $10. So it's almost twice as much profit from a $20 bottle of shampoo as it is from a $200 service. Most hairdressers don't realize that, right? Because they just, it's not in their mind. The numbers are not there. The math ain't mathing for most of us. So what that means, when I type those numbers, those percentage increases into our little retail profit calculator, if you had a team of 5 people, you're going to make about an extra 30K profit per year based on those numbers.
Okay, and that's just retail before we even get into the treatments. All right, I'm going to get the link to that calculator, Richard. I'm going to put it on the show notes of this episode because I'm really excited for people to jump in. Now, you have been in business for a long time, business owner of different descriptions multiple times in your lifetime. What is a quote or a mantra or something that like just keeps you focused, narrowed, moving forward that you can share?
So the one quote actually comes from one of my coaches from years back, and it is, make them the hero and they'll push you to the top. And I think that applies across all things, right? Like, especially when you think about the salon business, if you make them the hero, your clients, they're the ones that are going to push you to the top. If you're a team leader, make them the hero, your team, and your team will push you to the top.
Mm-hmm. I love that. All right, that's a good one. What's a book, a resource, a podcast, or something that every salon owner should get their hands on?
Okay, so I've got 2, if that's okay. Look, I've got some resources on the Hair App website, which I'll share with you, which is the retail profit calculator. We've also got a pricing for profit little module, so you can kind of use it as a calculator to chuck in a whole bunch of costs to work out what you should be charging. It's a nice way to think about understanding all the costs in your business and what you should be charging in order to meet those costs, your 10-year cost, your 5-year cost, your annual, your monthly and your weekly and your daily costs all go in there, and it punches out a little number for you. There's a little 7-minute training on it. So those are a couple of resources that I'm going to give you guys. I'm also going to share something else with you later, but I think there are 2 things, apart from the Salon Owners Collective podcast, obviously. Anthony Whitaker has a great podcast out of the UK, and Gordon Miller, if you can follow Gordon Miller on social media and sign up to his mailing list, he doesn't send too many emails. He sends a little brief wrap up once in a while with really good, I don't know if you follow Gordon, Larissa, but he he's not a hairdresser, but has been working in and around the hairdressing industry for over 40 years. He's an active speaker on the circuit, particularly in North America, and has more insight and data about our industry than anyone, and has a really unique way of articulating it into outcomes for people. So as a hairdresser, you can get his email once a week and go, there are 2 things I can action right away. They're really great.
Amazing. Appreciate that so much. Richard, will you give us your share your socials so people can stalk you and find you?
Yeah, for sure. So www.thehair.app. There's no .com, it's .app. So thehair.app, that's the first one to go to. If you go on the Hair App website and you scroll all the way down to the bottom of the page in the footer, hidden in the footer is a couple of little Easter eggs for you, and that's your pricing for profit calculator and your retail profit calculator. So you can get those in there. My socials are just my name, Richard Kavanagh. So find me on Instagram. I'm always having a rant at the industry about something or other. So jump on there, give it a like, a share, and a follow. And I love to connect on social media. And send me any messages. You'll see that my social media is not very niche. It's like, I was looking at it the other day and I went, God, my social media is a shambles. It's like, it's so multifaceted because I have so many things that I'm interested in. And I was thinking about this, right? I think, we're so often told, particularly for business, I think it's important that we should have branded social media because for business, that's right. But personally, we are multifaceted humans. And my social media has sort of, me and my businesses have always been kind of interlinked. So my social media is all over the place. If you're interested in martial arts, you'll find some. If you're interested in business, you'll find some. If you're interested in hair and technical stuff, you'll find it there. So come give us a follow and a like.
A true representation of Richard. I love that. I really appreciate your time, Richard. I love your insights. I absolutely adore what you're doing for the industry, and I really appreciate it all. Thanks for hanging out.
Thanks, Larissa. Appreciate it.
Okay, and that's a wrap. Thank you so much, Richard, for joining me. I still can't get over that number that 9 out of 10 clients leave the salon actually unhappy. We've got to make a change in this industry because we don't want our clients feeling like they need to train us or hope that they'll slowly get the look that they really wanted. We want them to genuinely love everything about their visit when they come to see us. I hope this episode has given you some tips or even inspired you to run a workshop on consultation with your team, so you know that they are best asking clients the best questions, give them the confidence to give clients what they want. So thanks again, Richard, for joining me on the Salon Owners Collective podcast. And if you're looking to break through the 500K mark once and for all and reach that $1 million mark, or need some support with developing your manager, make sure you click the Apply Now button in the show notes. I'll ask you a couple of questions and you'll get onto my calendar, find a time, let's book a call. Tell me about your salon, about the goals and dreams and what's holding you back. Let's see if we can help. All right. Meanwhile, that is a wrap from me. Ciao for now. Until same time, same place next week on the podcast.